This is the week of April 15, 2019, and you're tuned into The Revolution. In today's episode, you'll be hearing a series of articles that appear in this week's edition of RevCom.us, Revolution newspaper, the voice of the Revolutionary Communist Party, USA.
April 17th through 28th. Points of Attention Days. Spread the points of attention and spread revolution. April 15th, 2019, RevCom.us. From the National Revolution Tour. Every day, it seems that the outrages mount higher and grow more excruciating. We wake up and see families driven from their countries by climate change and imperialist plunder or war, languishing at the border or under highway underpasses in the U.S. We see our youth, young women and men of so much promise, either gunned down by the police or by each other, as they act out our system's warped values. We hear the intensifying threats of war, of amped-up repression, of demonization of Muslims. Sometimes it seems like a new state every day makes yet another assault on a woman's right to control her body, a right that does not exist without abortion. There is the demonizing of LGBTQ people, and there are the ever uglier threats from Trump, Pence, and their minions against any who would get in the way of their juggernaut. Quote, "We have two choices. Either live with all this and condemn future generations to the same, or worse, if they have a future at all, or make revolution." End quote. Bobavakian. So we know about the first choice, but from April 17th to April 28th, we aim to make the future posed by the choice for revolution much more real to thousands and thousands, to involve and work with hundreds in doing so, and to expand the influence and organized strength of the movement for revolution. These are the days where we'll be leading people to take up and take out the points of attention for revolution. So, what's the idea? First, really read through, the points of attention, and think about how much of the goals, methods, and principles of this revolution are packed into it. Then get into this, from Bobavakian, from his speech last summer, why we need an actual revolution and how we can really make revolution. Spreading the word, particularly as this is done together with others in a planned, systematic way, can be an important step in joining the organized ranks of the revolution and taking part in the process of building the revolution. A crucial next step in making this revolution real is that thousands need to get organized into the ranks of the revolution now, while millions are being influenced in favor of this revolution. Getting organized into the ranks of the revolution means acting together with others in a unified way, as an organized force, guided by the strategic plan and leadership for the revolution. Building the revolution among broader masses of people while also getting deeper into the principles, methods, and goals of this revolution, the basics of which are concentrated in the points of attention for the revolution. A key form of revolutionary organization are the revolution clubs, which live by, propagate, and fight for the points of attention. The core of the revolution clubs are people deeply committed to revolution who closely follow the leadership of the Revolutionary Communist Party, which has the basis in the new communism to provide overall leadership for the revolution. But the revolution clubs also need to reach out and involve growing numbers of people who are new to the revolution. The revolution clubs are a means through which people can take part in and powerfully represent for the revolution in an organized way, as they learn more about the revolution and advance toward joining the party. Then imagine points of attention up in the neighborhoods of the inner city, on light poles and in laundromats, and on the bulletin boards of suburban high schools, being posted openly or surreptitiously by people who live or go there, with other people grouping around, reading and maybe debating. Crowds of people in busy shopping areas or transit hubs, on subway cars or in long lines waiting to get into something. suddenly confronted with pop-up squads or flash mobs, distributing the points and getting into on-the-spot debate and discussion knots over them. Attention-grabbing, imaginative stunts, or pranks where the points appear, or serious sit-down heart-to-hearts where the questions of could we live this way, and what would it take, and who is the leadership get joined. Imagine more. Classrooms where the teacher or professor has the revolutionaries in to get into this. Get-togethers with artists and scholars, figuring out how to get into this. And these get discussed and taken up in the prisons. Throughout. The revolution clubs and others getting people introduced to Bob Avakian so they can learn about the humanity of the leader and the road he's forged that are reflected in these points and in everything else he's done. Imagine all this where people are getting out the 5 stops at the same time, or with tablets or even trucks where some clips from Bob Avakian are playing, bringing alive the sharpness of the 2 choices we started with. What kind of new world are you talking about? Here, let's read this together and talk about it. How are you going to get there? Watch this video and spread it, and let's get into it as you do. Think about the whole range of questions about past, present, and most of all the future that this opens up. Think about the debates over, say, point 2 or point 3 or any of the others, where people just getting into these struggle with each other to uphold one or another point. Think about the vibrancy, where newer people are bringing their questions and what they run into to the more experienced, where community and struggle are built as we do. This is part of what we aim to set off. We want to hear your ideas as well. For one reason, getting this going in the kind of geometric way we need to is new for us too. Let's turn RevCom.us into a platform where all kinds of experiences are being described and lessons being drawn and debated. Send your ideas and reports of experiences to revolution.reports@yahoo.com. Let's get going. We have 2 choices. Either live with all this and condemn future generations to the same or worse, if they have a future at all, or make revolution. Bob Avakian. 3 key points to keep in mind. The points of attention for revolution concentrate the principles, methods, and goals of the revolution. That very importantly includes the morality of the revolution, but it is more than that at the same time. The points of attention are both important in their own right and as a gateway to the whole revolutionary road, which is concentrated in what Bob Avakian has brought forward and how he leads. The movement for revolution has to use this whole 2-week period to make a big advance in actually organizing people at many different levels. In this light, we want to strongly recommend listening to, discussing with others, and applying the excerpt from BA's speech, Why We Need an Actual Revolution and How We Can Really Make Revolution, that we are featuring this week. And we urge people to make a RevCom.us a real-time bulletin board where experience can be exchanged as it happens. Again, send in your ideas and reports of experiences to revolution.reports@yahoo.com. White Power Fascists Burned Down Tennessee Social Justice Center. April 15th, 2019. RevCom.us. On Friday, March 29th, the main building of the Highlander Research and Education Center in New Market, Tennessee, was burned down in an arson fire. The center describes itself as a catalyst for grassroots organizing and movement building in Appalachia and the South that works with people fighting for justice, equality, and sustainability. After the fire, the center said in a news release that they found a symbol connected to the White Power movement spray painted on the parking lot connected to the main office. It appears the fascist white supremacist symbol was put there by the perpetrators of the arson. No one was killed or hurt in the Highlander arson, but the center said the fire destroyed decades of historical documents, speeches, artifacts, and memorabilia from movements of all kinds, including the civil rights movement. The center has a long connection with the civil rights movement, including training Rosa Parks before she refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus, sparking the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott that brought the fight against Jim Crow into national focus. The sign found spray painted on the center's premises was a symbol that looks like a hashtag with 3 vertical and 3 horizontal lines, which was first used by the Iron Guard, a fascist movement in Romania in the 1930s and 40s. More recently, the symbol has been used by some fascist white power forces in various parts of the world. Notably, the internet white supremacist fascists who invaded 2 mosques in New Zealand this March and murdered 50 people. Live streaming it on Facebook with the aim of inciting other fascists and racists, had the same symbol painted on one of the guns he used in the massacre. The Iron Guard symbol has also been used by fascists in the U.S., including some involved in the 2017 Unite the Right march of neo-Nazi white supremacists in Charlottesville, Virginia, in which protester Heather Heyer was murdered by one of the fascists, and after which Trump said they were very fine people among the fascist KKK goons. This attack in Tennessee, and other attacks on black and other oppressed people, immigrants, Muslims, Jews, and women, are happening in the context of undisguised white supremacy, coming from the highest levels of the U.S. ruling class. There is a president in the White House now who said after the mass murders at the mosques in New Zealand, when asked if he thinks that white nationalism, that is white supremacist fascism, is a significant problem, then said, "I don't really. He who paints all immigrants as criminals and who attacks protesters against Confederate monuments for trying to take away our heritage. This is whipping up an intensifying fascist, racist wave in the South and elsewhere around the country." Here are just a few recent examples. Just 2 days after the Highlander arson fire, a memorial dedicated to the slaves and black workers at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill was vandalized with urine and racist graffiti written in permanent marker. University officials said one of the people allegedly involved has ties to a group called Heirs to the Confederacy. In October of last year, a white man cold-bloodedly shot and killed an older black man and woman in a supermarket parking lot near Louisville, Kentucky. Not all the circumstances around the killings are clear or known publicly, and the alleged shooter's motives are not known. But before murdering the 2 black people, the shooter had tried and failed to get into a black church, and the man who confronted the alleged killer reported that the gunman said, "Don't shoot me, I won't shoot you. Whites don't shoot whites." The Kentucky murders took place in the same week as 2 other major developments. Pipe bombs were sent to the homes and offices of top Democratic leaders, particularly prominent black figures, as well as wealthy liberals of Jewish descent and CNN. A white supremacist gunman murdered 11 Jewish people at a synagogue in Pittsburgh as he shouted, "All Jews must die." In November of last year, a white male gunman shot and killed 2 women at a yoga studio in Tallahassee, Florida, before killing himself. The man was a self-proclaimed misogynist, hater of women, who posted videos and songs online proclaiming and advocating hatred and violence against women, black people, gays, and Muslims. Around the time of the Highlander Center arson, 3 black churches in the rural St. Landry Parish in Louisiana were hit by arson. On April 10th, a young white man, son of a deputy sheriff, was arrested and charged with the arson of the churches. At this point, there have been no reported statements from the man himself, and his motives are not clear or made public. But the burning down of black churches cannot be separated from the current overall climate of rising white supremacist threats and violence. And the NAACP has called the arson of Louisiana churches hate crimes. For decades, there has been a growing fascist section in this country, including at top levels of power. To them, America was great when it was unmistakably white, Christian, and male-dominated, and the USA had unrivaled dominance over the world. But it's gone to hell since. They find even the partial concessions that black and other oppressed people won in recent decades to be intolerable, and this hatred, along with the same hatred directed at gains won by women in blatant USA #1 madness, is a big part of what fuels this fascist movement. The Republican Party is the main vehicle of this fascism, but the Democratic opponents of Trump have no real answers either. In fact, they, too, support white supremacy in a less blatant form. Just look at how Bill Clinton opened his run for presidency by making a special trip to witness the execution of a brain-damaged black prisoner and then posing in front of a chain gang of black prisoners at Stone Mountain, Georgia, a monument to the Confederacy. As a signal to racist whites that he would keep black people in their place, and then, as a major part of his presidency, oversaw and pushed through repressive laws and policies that greatly expanded mass incarceration, particularly of black and other oppressed people. Or look at how Obama constantly put the blame for the whole oppressive situation blacks and Latinos face on the people themselves, preaching that the problem was youths with saggy pants, absentee fathers, and so on. How he attacked youths who rose up in Baltimore against the police murder of Freddie Gray as thugs, while his Injustice Department never prosecuted a single murdering pig. The Democratic Party must uphold this white supremacy because the system they uphold and serve, capitalism imperialism, has had white supremacy so tightly interwoven into its every fiber that you cannot get rid of the one without totally uprooting the other. The arson of the Highlander Center and other incidents involving fascist white supremacists are the crest of what is objectively shaping up in society. On one side are those like the NRA and various other neo-Nazi KKK-type groups, openly threatening civil war against anything positive in society, while at the very top, Trump openly agitates for violence by his fascist followers and minions, like exhorting his crowds to chant, "Lock them up," and moves to ratchet up repression by the state against immigrants and others. On the other side are the Democratic leaders trying to corral the opposition into acceptable channels, even as they are one of the targets of the fascist forces. Whether people are now cowed by or instead stand up for these fascist, white supremacist attacks, and how this struggle is fought politically, has urgent implications for where the world is headed. There are real stakes in countering the stormtroopers and their leaders and representatives in every sphere in society, doing so as part of a broader movement to drive out this fascist regime, and, in terms of the future of humanity, as part of advancing the three prepares. Prepare the ground, prepare the people, and prepare the vanguard. Get ready for the time when millions can be led to go for revolution, all out with a real chance to win.